Hello there, I'm Steve from Mac84. On a recent business trip to Seattle, I carved out some time to visit a place both wonderful and strange. And after that, I visited heaven. Well, I guess you could say it's PC heaven. That's right, we're talking about Re-PC, a place where all good and weird computers go when they've kicked the bucket. I've never been to either one of their stores before, but I was lucky enough to make it to both of their locations. And of course, I took a bunch of photos and videos to show you. So let's start at their 6th Avenue location. We're greeted by Jean-Luc at the beginning here, and my goodness, when you step into this place, the whole size of it just hits you like a ton of bricks. I mean, this place is huge, and they have a little bit of everything. We'll be going through some of this in detail, but just take it all in here. Adapters, disk drives, monitors, super rare Apple monitors that I kick myself for not getting a closer look at. If you're thinking of something vintage computer related, this store probably has it, or at least a half dozen of them. One of my favorite areas in the store was this huge bin of random cables. I found some goodies in there, but oh my goodness, was it a lot of fun just digging through and just seeing what was there. And that's what really makes me excited about these places, because it's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find. They also have a lot of general electronics like typewriters, stereo systems, AV equipment, and so on. They also had a dedicated room for a museum. They had a bunch of old and interesting systems, a lot of information cards, and a lot of interesting little peripherals as well. This little museum actually dwarfs some of the vintage computer areas of larger museums I've been to, so it was really cool to check out the wide variety of systems they had on display. And if you're building a more modern system, well, they have plenty of parts for you there as well. Hard drives, processors, memory, graphics cards, sound cards, you name it, they probably have it, which was really cool to see because I don't know of many stores that carry both retro and modern stuff and actually have a knowledgeable staff that knows about both. While I was in this store, my eyes were just constantly darting around looking at everything. I was clearly overwhelmed, and there is so much to be overwhelmed about here because you see a bunch of bins that are labeled this or that, but below those bins, underneath those tables, are a whole set of other bins with even more things to look at. And sometimes something's in the wrong spot or it's just hiding behind something else, and so you really never know what you're going to find unless you start digging for it. Like these 3 bins full of Apple power adapters. And look what's right on top, an old StyleWriter power adapter. I already had one of these or I would have picked it up. Most of the prices here are actually pretty darn good, and they don't really go into eBay territory unless it's something more sought after or something quite strange. For example, these SCSI iOmega zip drives were $55, which is probably about $45 more than I'm willing to spend on one, but again, if push came to shove and I needed one, at least I know a place that has them. And of course, this is a business. They have employees to pay, rent, and utilities, and so on, so I can't be too hard on their prices. Most of the rare or unique or weird items are priced about what you would expect to find on eBay, give or take a little bit. Like this gateway destination system that I remember our high school teacher having. I actually have one of these in the garage. That reminds me I should probably dig that out one of these days. There was no shortage of love for Apple things too. I mean, look at that beautiful Multiscan 15 display in the box. I already had the display, but I've never seen that box before, so that was really cool. They had quite a good selection of Apple systems as well. Even this Xserve was up and running, so that was really cool to see. They also have plenty of Mac MPC systems just sitting around on shelves, so if you were interested in a particular form factor or a style, they had you covered. And if somehow I could lug this on the plane home, I would have. This is the original box to one of the original monitors our family computer had. We got the computer secondhand, so I never saw the original box or anything like that, so I was just drooling over this for a period of time. They even offered to sell it to me just for a few dollars, but unfortunately I had to pass. But maybe if you're in the area and you want to buy it for me and ship it here, that would be cool, thanks. Speaking of things that couldn't fit in my luggage, look at this huge printer and wide format scanner. Very cool to see this in person. I've actually been looking for one of those scanners for a while, but unfortunately they are way out of my price range. I really enjoyed browsing their old media section. They had a bunch of tapes and zip disks and other media that you wouldn't expect to find at a normal thrift store, and I actually did pick up quite a few items here just for the fun look of it and the curiosity of just what they were. Like this unique pair of iOmega removable hard disk cartridges. They said they were for Macintosh, and although they were $60, curiosity got the best of me because I was just curious, what type of cartridges were they? Were they Bernoulli cartridges or something different? And unfortunately, I do have to say that some of the pricing did push me away from buying something. This MacLink Plus PC Connect box seemed to be in good shape and it might have had everything included, but for $60, I did not want to have to worry about lugging this home and getting it crushed in my luggage. There was a similar one on eBay for about $30, which I could have shipped home. So unfortunately, in this circumstance, they lost out to a sale because of my situation. But that's not to say they didn't have things that were tempting, like this interesting version of Microsoft Office for the Mac that came bundled with a version of Virtual PC. And that's probably the best way to describe the store. Tempting. I mean, who could say no to a $3 SCSI card or a USB FireWire combo card? Exactly. Props to them for organizing their cables, peripherals, and cards in a very good way. It was very easy to find things you were looking for, and the staff was super helpful if you had a question or were just looking for something that you had not seen on the floor. I mean, where else can you go and find a new in-box Interfax modem for your Macintosh? Again, if this thing was smaller, I would have taken it home. They also had a pretty good selection of software and games and so on. Most of these discs were actually very reasonably priced, but some of them, like these iMovie discs for $10, were a little bit less enticing. That's not to say these prices drove me away, they just made me a bit more selective of what I put into my shopping basket. And let's be honest, that's probably a good thing, otherwise I would have bought all of these hubs and shoved them into my carry-on luggage. I bet the TSA would have loved that. Next up is their Tukwila location, which may not seem as big on the outside as the other one, but there was still plenty to look at inside, and again, I was simply overwhelmed. And although we did arrive closer to closing time, they were very kind and they weren't in a rush to push us out the door. And I was actually very surprised to see that each of these stores had a different selection of items. Sure, they had general computing and networking and AV and television stuff, but they did have their own unique things. Like this museum when you first walk into the store. This was stuff that wasn't for sale, obviously, but it was really cool to see each individual items that these stores curated for these mini museums, including this kid's Logitech mouse that I have at home. Each photo and video clip is just packed with goodies. Like, did you notice the power strips on the bottom left? I didn't either when I was there in person. And then you have unique modifications like this PowerMac G4 Quicksilver, which has been kitted out to represent their local sports team. Yay, sports! And if there was ever a way to drag home a CRT monitor on my flight home without paying for an entire extra ticket, I would have fully taken advantage of that. I appreciated this old school alley section. This is where they collected a lot of PC motherboards, processors, hard drives, adapters, and so on, and also a lot of vintage peripherals like mice and keyboards in one spot. Although there were a lot of neatly organized items in these buckets, there were a few surprises as well. I was looking for random SCSI things when I came across this Apple SCSI tape drive, which came from an older Power Macintosh computer. It wasn't too expensive, and I like exploring these weird things, and thankfully they had some brand new tapes sealed in the package, so I took that home. However, I did have to pass on this uniquely blue iOmega 100 zip drive because I didn't think it was worth $100. But that's okay, because they had plenty of other things to choose from, like the SideQuest drives and tape drives. If I wasn't pressed for time, I would have looked into each and every one of them and probably taken a few more of them home. I'd much rather support a small business like this, who is providing a great asset to a community, not only in recycling goods, but also PC repairs and so on, rather than just buying from some seller on eBay. And of course they do have an eBay store, but it doesn't compare to the huge amount of items on display that they have at their physical locations. I mean, just look at these switches and capacitors and other doodads and connectors. They have pretty much everything that you could be looking for, and then some. You want a networking card? Here's 50 of them. How about a video card? Take your pick. Looking for an oddball adapter? They probably have it. I think what gets me so overwhelmed at places like this is they have so much stuff and there are so many things that I may need at home in my own projects that I fail to remember exactly what I was looking for and then realize I don't have a lot of time to make decisions, so I start grabbing cables and trying to remember what I actually need, only to find out that, yeah, I probably have one of those at home already. And then we have alluring things like this, like a new and packaged 4-port USB hub. I remember seeing those in the back of magazines. and a weird USB flash link adapter, and a whole bucket of 13W3 cables. My goodness. Thankfully, I did a video about these Slingbox players already, or I would have picked this up, and of course the service no longer works, but this professional model with that bridge adapter was very enticing. However, I did come to the store with one thing in mind. Someone on social media mentioned that they have a bucket of memory modules, and they did not disappoint. I could have spent all day rummaging through this bin. Unfortunately, I was pressed for time, but I did try and seek out matching modules as best I could for future projects. Future projects. Yeah, I think that's the most dangerous aspect of a store like this to someone like me. I'm always thinking about interesting things or products I could combine into a video or something that I want to explain or explore more, and yeah, there's just unlimited potential in a place like this, which can make it very dangerous for my wallet. And of course, all of my free time. Help me. Hey, look, it's a huge box of landscape paper that would be perfect for my image writer LQ. I wonder how much shipping would cost. Alright, so let's look at some of the things that I brought home from RePC, or rather, shipped home. And yeah, the microphone clip kind of broke. I think it'll be easier if I dump all the stuff on the table and then go through it. Alright, so let's take a look at what was in the first box, then we'll go to the second one. So I have a few discs I picked up. These are iOmega Zip discs, but they're green and they are very cool, so I had to pick those up. I have a few of them, but some of these were interesting. Like this has a Fujifilm label on it, and this says not for individual resale, so rare. I don't know. And I picked up this Maxell one and this Zip 250 one, which is the square design. They came out with a round design later on. So those are pretty neat. They were about $2.50 each, so not too bad. Next up, I picked up a bunch of mice. This is just your standard Microsoft mouse, but I was very eager to find this, and I was particularly looking for it. This is a Microsoft for NEC mouse, and this pairs perfectly with those NEC computers I picked up in January. Unfortunately, it's a bit scuffed, but I'm happy to have at least one in my collection. Now I just need to find another to match the other PC. I also picked up some other mice because I thought they were funny. This one says Dinos on it, and I believe it's a old-style serial mouse, and I thought, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a spare one of those. And I picked up this one for the same exact reason. This is a Info brand mouse, but it was $20, and I didn't realize that until I already had my stuff at the counter and the store was closing, and I felt bad. But I looked at the back, and it says 3-key and 2-key, so there's a little switch there. So that's interesting. I don't know exactly what this goes for. There's a label over the model, which I guess I could peel off. Model is MUS3B, so I don't know if this is a very specific mouse. I just liked the overall design and look of it, so I brought it home with me. Something I also didn't need, but I liked the design of it, was this SCSI cable. Now this is a Mac cable brand SCSI cable. I do have another one of these that's longer, but I liked how short this one was, so I decided to pick that up. I also picked up this, an Apple Ethernet transceiver, but it's for the BNC ThinNet style configurations, and this is by Sonic Systems Incorporated. I have a bunch of that EtherTalk stuff, so this will be fun to add to the bin. In that bin of Apple power adapters, I found this. This is a third-party PowerBook or iBook G3 power adapter, and it's the one with the larger barrel, so it goes to the earlier models. So for a few dollars, I picked that up, and hopefully it works. Next up is an Apple serial cable. It's black, it looked cool, it might be from a Newton message pad, so that's why that's here. And I couldn't dig through that bin of 13W3 cables without taking a few home. So that's where these come from, and this one looks to be an official Sun cable, and this is a third-party one. But yeah, I mean, these are silly expensive sometimes on eBay, and you never know when you're gonna need one, so I picked myself up a pair. Now this was a little expensive, but it was the only Nubus card I saw there, so I figured, why not treat myself? And it's a big one too. This is a DigiDesign Audio Media 2 sound card, and it was $40, which I guess is not too bad. And it looks to be in pretty good shape. I believe this was used with a number of professional tools and software packages and stuff like that, and I'd be curious to see how it actually works. Remember that Apple monitor box I wanted so dearly? Well, they let me buy the documentation at least before it got tossed out. This is a multiple scan 1705, and it came with, of course, the user's guide with manual, and I like this little will help keep you running registration card. and of course your standard limited warranty software license stuff. So another thing to add to the pile of documentation that's slowly accumulating in my basement. Oh. There, good as new. These little hubs have always interested me. They are from Belkin, and they made a variety of these over the years, in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, and some of them actually matched the colors of Apple's fruit-flavored computers like the iMac or the iBook. And what was interesting is they all had sort of a similar design style, whether it was a USB hub or a FireWire hub or something different. And there was this little stacking tower mechanism that you were able to slide them into to just keep them organized. I don't have that, but if anybody has one or a 3D printable one, I'd love to check that out. But I was always looking for a very particular one of these, and I checked the bin, I did not see it, and I came back a few times, and either I missed it, or they just put it out on the floor, or somebody moved it, and I found it. I've been looking for this for a long while. This is not a hub, but a serial adapter, and what's unique about this is it has both Apple serial and the PC style serial connection on it. So you could just plug a USB cable into your modern Mac, or modern at the time, and you were able to plug in your vintage Apple or PC serial stuff. So I thought that was pretty neat. I'd love to dive in deeper on this in a video. And then there was this, which I thought was a USB hub, and I figured, oh, there's a few here, I might as well pick one up. Well, this is actually a USB switch. So it has a little button on the front. And the whole point of this, which is kind of funny to think about today, is you would put 4 USB cables in here that would go into 4 separate computers. And then you plug in one USB device like a printer. So you could have 4 computers sharing one printer or a scanner or something like that. I don't think this would work well with a hard drive or something. You could probably screw up things real bad. But I thought it was neat, and I did not actually think this was a switcher. I thought it was a hub when I picked it up, but they looked very similar. And that's because I picked up this as a USB switch. This is just a 2-port USB switch. I am going to do a video about weird USB connectivity and stuff like that with my continuing iMac G3 series one day. And I thought this would be a neat little thing to look at. This is by a company called... it doesn't have a name on it, it's so cheap. But it has 2 LEDs on it and 2 ports and 1 USB plug for your device. So yeah, I don't think these are really compatible with a lot of stuff, but I thought it was neat. Here's the Apple tape drive that you saw earlier in the video. This is a SCSI tape drive. It also has this little SCSI ID connector on it, so that actually makes me think that this was maybe in an external case at some point, which is interesting. I don't know where that would have came from, but it has an Apple sticker on it, so maybe somebody just connected that to there. I have no clue. But this is a 4GB DDS2 DAT compatible tape drive. There is a little crack in the bezel here, but I think it was only $10 or $20, so that's not too bad. I have no idea if it works or not, but I do have a matching bezel and of course a Power Mac that I can put this in, so I think it'll be pretty cool to put a tape drive in one of these Power Macs and make it act like a server or something like that. And then we have this. This is a bag of 30-pin SIMs. I picked up a few. Some of them I was actually able to find matching pairs for because the colors were easy to stand out from the rest. These are sort of an amber color, but I'm not really sure the capacities of any of these or if they all work or anything. I think they gave me a pretty good deal on them, and there's actually one with the little pins instead of the socket. I did not have any one of those, and yeah, that's going to stab me. So I'm going to put that over here and hopefully not forget about it, but yeah, I have some memory testing to do in my future. I hope at least a few of these work. Alright, so we have a smaller box, but there's still a lot of goodies packed inside of here. Like this mouse interface adapter by Microsoft. It says, for Serial and IBM PS2 mouse ports. Looked like something I might need in the future, so for a few dollars I picked that up. Next up we have some miscellaneous adapters and dongles. This one looks like it's a, oh, that's a PC mouse to, I guess, serial mouse adapter. And this is an ADB dongle with the pass-through, and it just says Mac HASP-M on it. So that's some sort of software protection dongle for vintage Macs. We also have a power supply. Why did I pick this up? Oh, this is another iBook or PowerBook style power supply. One of the thinner ones, the smaller barrel though. So hopefully that works out. And we have another mouse in here. This is a compact PS2 mouse. I thought this would go nice with one of the compact systems I have. The original mouse I have for that is seen better days, so that's why I picked that one up. They also had this. This is an Apple Local Talk adapter to the original serial port on the original Macintosh 128K and 512. I think I have another one of these, but this one was in pretty good shape, and so for a few dollars, I decided that was another thing to add to my Local Talk bin. Speaking of network connectivity, we have an Apple personal modem. Let me connect this there we go. And this was for $20, says as is, no light when plugged in. But the case was in very good shape, and the sticker on it says it's been there since December 2022. So I kind of felt bad for it, and I went back and forth if I should pick this up. I do have one that is, I think, an earlier one. There are two different models of these. Another modem to add to the pile, but I'm going to make my friend Tom jealous, so it was well worth it. Next up, we have another adapter, and this is for a Mac, and this lets you use a Palm Pilot from back in the day that used a traditional serial port to plug into your Macintosh serial port. No guarantees that this will work with anything else that's PC serial related, but it worked for the Palm Pilot, and I remember using these back in the day when I had my very cool Palm 3E. Last item in the box, and this is what piqued my curiosity, and unfortunately, I found out it wasn't exactly what I thought it was, but let me explain. So this box says iOmega, special offer, removable hard disk cartridge, and double your capacity without a new drive. And I'm like, what is this talking about? What drive is this talking about? And any clues I tried to get from the spine of it or anything, it just says 44 megs times 2, and there are obviously 2 cartridges here, but it was kind of still sealed, and I didn't want to really rip it out of the package. But there was this sticker on it, which I did peel back to reveal another sticker under it. So the sticker at RePC just said, packaging mostly intact, 2 44 megabyte cartridges. And I thought, oh, these might be Bernoulli cartridges. I have a Bernoulli drive, but it doesn't seem to want to read the cartridges. I'll get some cartridges. Yeah, they're a bit pricey, but I want to support this store, and maybe I'll go home with something special. No, these are just SideQuest cartridges. I have a bunch of SideQuest cartridges already, and these are apparently iOmega branded SideQuest cartridges, because when I peeled back this sticker, there's another sticker underneath that says 44 megabyte SideQuest 2-pack, $98. So I guess I saved from that original price tag, but not by much. Either way, I think maybe I'll just keep this in the package since I know what they are. And it's pretty neat because I've never... Stay. Anyway, these are pretty neat because I've never seen one of these before, so I had to pick that up even if it cost me a little bit more than I would have wanted to spend on a bunch of SideQuest discs. I also picked up this boxed Adaptec Macintosh compatible SCSI card, this Toshiba external floppy drive, a SCSI cable, and some random types of media. There was one more item that I was so tempted to pick up, but I only noticed it was there after I had gotten home and I was reviewing the footage for this video. That's, of course, the original Apple Studio Display LCD. This is the darker colored dark blue model before the Blueberry one and later the Graphite one. And I've never seen one of these in person, so it was really cool that there was one there, but I kicked myself for not getting a closer look. Thankfully, Cathode Ray Dude did a video about RePC not long ago, and this monitor was sitting right in his view, and it was priced at $350. And yeah, that's a bit much for a monitor that's pushing 25 years old at this point. Although it's very cool, and I'd love to have one in my collection one day, trying to get that thing shipped home would have probably not worked out. So maybe it's best I didn't see it, otherwise I would have been tempted to do stupid things. So if you're ever in the Seattle area, go check out RePC. I think you'll have just as much fun as I did. Hopefully you won't have to pack as many boxes to ship home though. If you like anything that you did see in the video, be sure to let me know what you would have picked up in the comments section. Don't forget, I'll be at the VCF East event in Wall, New Jersey coming up on April 12th to the 14th, 2024. So if you're watching this video before then, hopefully I could see you there. But that's about it for now. Please like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and I'll catch you right here next time on Mac 84.